Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Infrastructure Network. My name is Chad Smeltzer. I'm your host. Today's guests are Giulia and Irina, who are with Zimm Connections. Thanks for joining me, girls. And John, you're here too. Damn it, I forgot. John Squillace, who's with Helix Wireless. How are you, John?
I'm great, man. How are you? Great to be here.
Doing great, doing great. Giulia and Irina, how's things going in Zimm Connections? How did you guys get the business started?
Yeah, thank you, Chad, for having us. We're super excited to be here. So, Zim started because Irina and I met a long time ago, like more than 20 years, and we've always been very fans of traveling. We always traveled a lot during our whole lives. We lived in different countries, and we've always encountered the same problem. Whenever we went abroad, we didn't have connectivity. We had to queue in a store in order to get a SIM card, then physically change it. We didn't. Like, there was some language barriers in some countries that we didn't know we were buying, and the other option, which was roaming, was just impossible for us because we were students and we were broke. So we started thinking, and we're like, we can't believe that in the 21st century now there's still this option. The only option is a physical SIM card. When, for example, 10 years ago you had to queue in a taxi to get a taxi, and now you can just get it from your phone. So that has to be something more digital and available. And we started researching, and we did realize that eSIM was developed, which is a digital SIM card. And we decided to use it in our advantage and create a solution for all the travelers out there that had the same problem as us.
Wow, I don't know much about SIM cards and eSIM and all that stuff that we're probably going to talk about. But how did you two meet? How did that business, the connection start?
We met actually about, Julia said 20. Yeah, is it 20? Oh my God, time passes by so fast. But yeah, it was about 20 years ago. We met in Brussels. We were both kids of expats, and we went to international school there. So we met there when we were like 9 years old. And we built up our friendship. And then each one of us went to their own path after school to university, both in the UK, but different universities and different courses. But we kept in touch. And when we traveled to the Philippines together, we realized like, hey, we already did several entrepreneurship projects together at school. We were doing a retail project for some time, and that went very well. We know where we can actually work together. Why don't we try doing this? And Zim actually wasn't about building a business or being founders. It was mainly building a product for ourselves and that will cover our own needs. And that's how it actually became a business.
That's awesome. And then you guys met John. And
Yes.
John, how did you meet these wonderful ladies?
So we had a mutual connection. Shout out to Ken Ma, right?
Yes.
Nice. Oh, Ken Ma, I guess.
I'm not sure how Ken and Irina and Giulia connected, but I think he called me like 5 minutes after their first conversation, and he was like, "Dude, you got to talk to them." And I was like, "To who?" He's like, "To Zim." I'm like, "Who's Zim?" He's like, "I'm connecting you." I was like, "Okay, great." And we had a first conversation, and we understood immediately that eSIM is one of the things that we are passionate about as well, right? For different reasons.
Yeah.
But when we look at the kind of the overlap, it was a tremendous opportunity to work together and kind of join forces and solve problems for real people that actually are, going on vacations and traveling the world for work and doing those sorts of things. So I mean, it made a ton of sense.
Yes.
That's awesome. Ken Ma is a great guy. I mean, that guy.
Definitely.
We met him. I met him at New Chip. John and I were in his accelerator class with him, and kudos to Ken
We
Ma.
actually met him
Go-getter.
at Draper University program.
Okay.
Entrepreneurship program. Yeah. So that's how we connected. It was all online, mainly because of COVID.
Right.
But we still managed to connect online, and we had this great chat. And he was like, "I need you to introduce you to Helix." I was like, "Who is Helix?"
Nice. That's awesome. So,
and that's the great chat of the
go ahead.
podcast is so when people go, "I need to introduce you to Helix or to Zim," people don't go, "Who's that?"
Right.
Exactly.
So, Giulia and Irina, what are some of the challenges you've had since you started the company?
Well, multiple, of course. I mean, it's the first time that we're setting up our first business. So at the beginning, we lacked a little bit of experience. But we took the first years to really research the market, how to build a business, and especially the telecom industry. It's not an industry that we had the most knowledge in, but we managed to surround ourselves with a lot of advisors that had a lot of experience in the industry. We surrounded ourselves with a team. So we really took those first few years to kind of learn and be ready. And then after a year and a half, we finally launched the products. And here we are 2 years later.
The good thing that okay, COVID was horrible for every single person on earth, but it's true that for us it gave us the time that we needed to just sit down and think, okay, this is a business that we are not 100% knowledgeable in. Like, we
Yeah.
didn't study this, we never worked in telco. Let's sit down, let's educate ourselves so we can actually build a product that will be 100% customer friendly and
Yeah.
think, because we are all customers, so how can we make a product that we could understand without all this knowledge as well. So that took some time, and we're quite proud to what we have achieved, to be honest, because in only 2 years we kind of uh, built up this product in an industry that is quite hard to get into.
You're talking about telecom run by some big players. So yeah, this is this is big boy territory. And then you guys look. John has tons of experience in this space, so I can see how this is going to work really well. John, can you guys explain to me a little bit more about eSIM? I don't understand it. I know in my phone I have a SIM card, but can you guys elaborate a little bit more on what eSIM is?
Of course.
Julie?
So it's, you know how SIM cards have been upgrading during the years. That we've known a few years ago, there was a nano SIM that was smaller. So this is just the new generation. So instead of being physical, what they created, the phone manufacturers, is like a microchip that acts like a empty SIM card that is inside the phone. So
Okay.
what that allows you is that before, you had one SIM that was connected to one provider, and you used to put it in your phone and you could only connect to that provider. What eSIM does is that because it's empty and it's already in the phone, whenever you buy a plan, you can just download the profile into the phone, and you can download that profile from any provider that you want. And it gives you a lot of freedom as well, because you can have up to 5 plans active in the same eSIM. And it's very easy to activate, deactivate. Like, you don't need any of the physical process. So it's definitely a massive improvement in what is the telecom industry. And it's going to disrupt how everyone's been like used to kind of have the SIM card and change it all the time every time they travel. Like, they don't have to do that anymore. So it's a massive change for everyone. And we definitely see that it's been here since 2017, but not a lot of people knew about it. Even I didn't know about it until a few years ago. So like, it's our job and John's job and everyone to kind of make aware of everyone that this exists and they can take advantage of it finally.
And also, the iPhone 14 has been manufactured eSIM only in the US. So if you go to any US Apple store and you actually buy an iPhone 14, you won't be able to insert any SIM card into it. And that, I think, was quite a big shock for many users that went into the stores and were like, okay, so what do I do now? So that opened up the market very heavily for consumer, because I know John is in IoT. And eSIM for IoT has been more developed in the past couple of years, but B2C consumer eSIM, it's still a very unknown technology. Like, we go every year to MWC in Barcelona, which is the Mobile World Congress, right? The biggest conference with mobile aggregators all over the world. And we still there. Normally, you expect people to know about telco when they go there, and we still talk to consumers and we ask them, like, "Do you know what an eSIM is?" And literally 80% said no. So it's still very interesting to see how people are getting educated, and how is it our job as well to make that happen.
Yeah.
So you guys have to become the pastors of eSIM, right? You have to evangelize the eSIM proliferation. How did you feel when you first saw the press release that iPhone 14 was eSIM only, right? Because I know how I felt. I saw it and I was like, oh.
Well, we kind of knew from before. So it was a huge shock, and like it was a validation of the market saying like this is happening, like this is finally happened. Like we knew it was gonna disrupt the industry. We knew it was gonna happen at one point, but we didn't know it was gonna happen this soon. So it's definitely like a wake up call saying like we need to get this ready because this is gonna boom like next year.
Right.
So I got it. I'm just going to repeat kind of what you guys are telling me so I understand it better. So you're telling me that we don't need physical SIM cards anymore.
No.
Correct. Okay. And in my phone, I can basically, if I don't have a SIM card in there, I can basically dump my carrier, maybe go to another carrier just
Yep.
through my phone, through an app or whatever,
Yep.
through Zim. Maybe is that what we're talking about? And then
Exactly.
we connect to any carrier within the region I'm in.
Yeah.
Is that it?
Exactly.
Wait, this sounds too crazy, like simple. I mean, this is great. This is totally a disruptor. Okay, so I guess my next question would be, how secure is eSIM versus the physical SIM cards?
Much more secure.
Okay.
It's the chip is already embedded into your device, which makes the connectivity much more secure, much more reliable. With a physical SIM card, your chip might get scratched, or it's the same as with credit cards and Apple Pay. Literally, that's a great example. Like you have your physical credit card that can get wet, or the chip can get scratched. This is the same as a SIM card. But with Apple Pay, if as long as your device is working well and is charged and it's well developed, well, you can just use your Apple Pay with it. So that's the eSIM.
That sounds too simple. Seriously, like that just sounds so easy to get into the eSIM world, and it's more secure. Like, why isn't everyone switching to eSIM right now?
Because they're not aware of it. That's what we're seeing.
Okay.
If you don't know, a lot of people are very scared of using new technologies. The new generations are more tech savvy, so they're more open. But they definitely, I mean, if you don't even know that exists, obviously you're never going to make the change. So that's why we're really going to events, talking to our customers, saying like this, you can start using this for your travel. You can stop paying hundreds in roaming. You can stop having like 5 SIM cards in your drawer. So it's definitely the first step is getting to know that eSIM exists.
And
Yeah,
also manufacturers building up products that are eSIM only. That's basically what's going to drive change, because we are a startup, right? We cannot make our tiny bit of impact into the industry, but the big impact is going to be made by big manufacturers of devices, Huawei, Google, Samsung, Apple. They are going to be the ones that will drive this change, and they are rushing the change already. So it's going to be a huge market.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, every individual person can have a different carrier through. I'm sure Apple, Google, all these big players, big companies are going to try and grab that market share. John, where do you see all this market going for IoT?
Well, so I think Irina mentioned that the IoT vertical has been a little bit early to adopt, new technology, right? So a lot of times you have people who are making things that are really small. I'm looking for something small on my desk right now. I don't know why, but you're making a sensor, and that sensor is going to go into a larger, hub maybe, right? So it has to be smaller. So it becomes interesting because you go, if I don't have to have a SIM tray, I don't have to have that space. So now I can take this tiny chip and then just solder it onto the actual board of the device. The other thing is, when you look at access to information, when you're manufacturing a board, you can actually have information be sent from the SIM card without having to do a platform. You can send a flat file. You could pull a lot of information off of it. Diagnostics. We're working on a project with a very large airplane engine manufacturer, right? And so they want to be able to pull the maintenance records off the plane when it lands. They don't want to have to wait for the plane to break and go, oh, hey, we got to go fix the flux capacitor. I don't know any plane parts, so right? But we have to go fix the flux capacitor. So we know that we got to send someone with that said flux capacitor to the airport with that piece, right? And where they are today, right? This is the challenge. And especially, I'll pick on the Northeast where I'm based in America here. If you land a plane at JFK and your warehouse is in New Jersey and that plane needs a part, and the guy doesn't know after he drove 3 hours to get to JFK because you got to go through Manhattan and there's traffic. He gets to the airport. He goes, "Oh, I need that part." He's now got to drive back to Jersey 3 hours just to go get said part to then go back to the plane and fix the plane. And now that plane has been sitting there, for 9 hours, and he hasn't even had a chance to install it yet. Right. So now you have this plane that's sitting there unused on the tarmac. You're paying the penalties for having it sit there, all these sorts of things. And you don't get to use your equipment. Right. So by being able to, plane lands and it goes, "Hey, Chad, bring the part," you can now in 4 hours, you can be airworthy again. Right. So you're looking at a tremendous increase in productivity. And that's one example, and the one, and Chad, the sewer monitors and things that infrastructure things that you've been working on. It's the same thing, right? It's all about data. How much data is here? How much data can I have? And does this data mean anything to me? Right? That's what IoT really is, right? And so when we look at the proliferation of eSIM and IoT, I think there's been a much larger appetite for it. On the consumer side, it's, "Hey, listen, I want my phone to work the way that my phone always works, and I feel comfortable that it works that way, and that's how it used to work, and I'm good." Right? Don't change it. Don't rock the boat. Right? And I think it's probably that's the biggest hurdle that the consumer market has to get over is that kind of post early adopters, kind of who's next, right?
Yeah.
So you're talking about making things more efficient in a work order management system, increasing productivity there, because the soldering chip that's going to be placed into these devices is always going to be connecting, obviously, as our phones do now, but it'll have more connectivity because it's going to be able to connect to more carriers. Is that
it becomes part of the device, right, Chad? So it's not just an add-on piece.
Yeah.
Right? It becomes integrated into the actual device itself. So that it of course will function in a different manner, right? You can have some higher level functions kind of built into that. And it's really exciting.
Look, this is big. I mean, so where I'm trying to understand things, and you mentioned, Giulia, you mentioned about international roaming and traveling. So where is, I understand it's expensive. I don't travel enough since COVID. Obviously, I haven't been overseas, but I know I was getting dinged all the time. Charges. How big of an impact is this? It's just going to reduce those costs completely. You're not going to have any more fees. Is that what we're thinking?
Well, the thing is, roaming is a massive market. Its value, I think, is £60 billion. So obviously, one of the reasons why eSIM hasn't been introduced by all the massive providers yet is because it gives a lot of freedom to the customer. Obviously, sometimes they wanted to keep that roaming in, but it's definitely going to make a big impact. It's going to change how people connect to each other, how people get those plans, and it's also a new revenue channel for those companies that sometimes they lose customers when they don't want to pay roaming and they go to another company. They can actually start creating these travel plans and keep those customers inside just by giving them a more easy and cost-effective solution. So I think it's going to be a massive impact. We're just going to see how the big players are going to play it out.
Yeah, that's what I've been thinking about. And Irina, if you can jump in whenever you want, just kind of stop me. But Verizon, AT&T, these big players don't want to lose that market share of roaming charges. Obviously, that's $60 billion off their off their bottom line. So that's a big issue. So what are they? I mean, they gotta. Verizon, AT&T, they have to try and stop this, right? What are they doing? Are they just trying to what's going on in that world?
So here it's more about the manufacturers that are manufacturing the devices eSIM only. So the telcos need to keep up. So there's only two options for them. So first option is get on with the trend, digitalize ASAP, and be kind of front runners and examples for other big players to follow them into the digitalization process and by offering eSIMs to their customers, or stay behind and lose a bunch of customers. And they are actually losing the most important customers, which are the new generations that are very unreliable. They like to change, they like to try different technologies. So having those customers in from the beginning will create a huge brand awareness campaign by being kind of the front runners of big early adopters. They are going to lose on roaming anyway. That's for sure. That's why eSIM is here. And they are 100% going to lose on roaming. Not all the roaming, of course, but part of it is going to be lost. But they need to make the balance between losing the roaming and gaining revenue through digitalization.
So what this sounds like is a global communication system. You can just ping off of any carrier you want to, or Zimm Connections like Helix. It sounds like, you know, if you guys are the host, so to speak, you guys are just the middleman and giving those plans and reducing the cost. I mean,
exactly.
So okay. So this makes more sense. So
Chad, let me throw something out there. When's the last time you left the country, like pre-COVID? Where'd you
go? St. Thomas.
Okay.
No, that's still domestic. So Ireland.
Okay.
Yep.
There you go. See,
there you go. Irish. So, do you remember getting a bill at the end of your trip?
Right? I think, and that's what I was. That was frustrating.
And then 2 weeks later, you get this phone bill, and you're like, "What is
like $200 on top of my bill that I originally had?" I was like, "What the hell is this?"
Right.
And I had to call them and argue with them that I didn't know I was getting charged because it was kind of a bait and switch.
Was that fun? Did you enjoy that?
No, man, I did not. I really didn't. The phone carrier, as you know, John, these phone carriers drive me nuts.
I know.
They're expensive and they're slow speeds and all this stuff now.
But now you don't have to have that problem anymore, right? Because now you can say, Zimm allows you to do several things, right?
Yeah.
One, it allows you to control your cost because you know what you're spending.
Yeah.
You say, I'm going to buy a 15 gig bundle for the family when I go to Ireland.
Yeah.
And my cost is, X for that. Now I know that's what my spend is, right? You don't have to come home and go, what did I spend? Right.
Yeah.
And also you know before you go that you're already set up to go.
Right.
So now when you land in the country, you don't have to do anything. You don't have to opt into something. You just, you buy it before you go, you get where you're going, and then you go on vacation or you go to your work event or you go wherever it is you're going. You don't have to do any heavy lifting, right? That's the future, right? Like that's what Zimm is building here, what Irina and Giulia are working on, right? It's so powerful.
It's basically it's very customer centric, right? It's all about the customers' like enjoyment of their trip, not thinking about, hey, I don't want to spend this. Or I don't want to go to the shop and spend 20 minutes looking for a SIM card in a country where I don't even speak the language and I don't even know what currency I'm going to pay in. Travelers want to be hassle-free. They want to arrive and have the exact same comforts that I have at home.
Yeah.
Which it shouldn't be like this, because when you're traveling, you should be having a bit of a hassle.
Yeah.
But that's what customers want, and that's what basically we're giving them.
Yeah. So where you guys see product market fit for you is being that middle carrier or middle, distributor of information or gigabytes. You're talking about the information data, right? It's all about data at this point. So where do we stop the market from going just a price to the bottom? Like, and that's the way I thought about it, is like, okay, how many people are going to get into this space potentially? Obviously you guys are ahead of the curve and you're in there and you're going to grab a bunch of market share, but what keeps it from driving it to the bottom where everything's like super cheap for data?
So the prices
like a hot seat question. Sorry, guys.
The prices are driven by the telecommunication companies, right?
Okay.
So since we are actually working with them, we are not competing with them. We're just working with them, helping them digitalize their strategy, helping them sell to a new niche of customers, which are travelers, and help them also to make this very seamless, because we are the ones that develop the technology to make that happen. And they are taking advantage of that. We are basically a new revenue channel for them. So we don't actually tell them, hey, your prices need to be lower. We're just, hey, we are a marketplace. If you're getting in, just so you know, the customer will choose the lowest price or the biggest quality, or you need to have a different value proposition for what we already have. So it's up to the big players to set up the prices. So that it's up to them. We don't really manage that. And we know the prices are what they are, and they are the market price.
So what
And
is
so,
the?
yeah, you can tie
Yeah,
that
go
back
ahead.
to the other question too,
Yeah.
right? Because it's like a big circle. So it goes back to talking about the larger MNOs, right? In America, it's the big three here, right?
Yeah.
Where you say, oh, they're going to lose market share. But the question is this actually is how much market share will they gain, right? By partnering with Zimm when people come
Definitely.
into America.
Exactly.
And that's where I was confused, John. I'm trying to figure out how do we separate that, from them just trying to control the market completely like they do now, right? It's like, but they're going to want to partner with you because you're bringing in your clients. You're going to have your own established client base, right?
Yeah.
And then you're providing them a level of customer service that the big players don't probably give. Is that correct? Is that what we're looking at? Okay.
Yeah,
That makes
100%.
sense for me then. Yeah, no, that's awesome. So what's the vision and the future of eSIM and Zimm Connections?
Well, for us, we are starting mainly as a marketplace for short-term travelers. So, like you said, we're targeting those students, those digital nomads, and those short-term travelers. But in the long run, we do want to be like the marketplace where everyone that wants to get an eSIM plan can come to research, to compare different providers, and to just select their plan and purchase it and activate it for any type of travel, long term, short term, even domestic. So kind of we always say like the Amazon of eSIM plans. So like the marketplace where everyone just goes to compare and they don't have to go to each store to asking for the different plans, the different trials. Like they can do everything from one platform.
What are you going to offer differently customer service wise? I'm just curious.
We are super customer focused, right? Like we started B2C. We understand the customers. We are the customer at the end of the day. So that was our biggest focus since day one, is just customer support. We need to focus on that because one is a new technology. So we might get a lot of questions on how it works, how it activates. It's not like you go and you buy, I don't know, a t-shirt. You know how to wear a t-shirt. You know how to wash it. You can just see the small thing because you have worn t-shirts for all your life. When you come to an easy marketplace, you're like, okay, this is really cool. The pricing is good. How do I use this? And even though we have tutorials within the app and explanatory emails and videos, we understand that some other people prefer more human touch. So we are talking to customers nonstop. So I believe talking personally to each customer is very, very important. And we have been doing that since the beginning. Like I think our first 50 or 60 customers, we know them by name. So it's actually very interesting to get that feedback. And that's how we also update the app and make our process better just by listening to our customers. So definitely customer support has been number one priority. Of course, now, since we have more and more customers, the volumes are increasing. We are integrating also a chatbot. We see that 90% of our reports are questions on activation and why is my eSIM not working? Maybe because you haven't activated this, etc., etc. So we're working a lot on for a chatbot to actually process those questions, and it makes our job much easier.
Yeah, that's how did you guys get into the platform? How's that? It's a software system. You have a team building the software. Is that what you guys have? How many employees do you guys have?
We're 10 in total. We
Okay.
have 4 developers and 3 in marketing. We do everything internally. So we wanted to kind of have a team that would work on the entire app in house, and also eSIM technology because it's very new. So we couldn't find an expert in eSIM technology. So we wanted the team to kind of start growing with us and learning through the whole process and being able to do that in house, and it's been working perfectly.
Awesome.
I mean, the team has developed the app from scratch, and they're always there improving it and adding new providers. So it's definitely been the best idea for us.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Wow. John, you guys are going to make a great team. I can tell this already. John's got the experience in this space for a long time, so I can see how this relationship's going to work out really well. John, as far as IoT stuff, where do you guys see this working in the American market? How does this all play together? Just curious.
So I think it's interesting. You know, I kind of I don't want to let the cat out of the bag, quite honestly, yet, Chad, on that.
Yeah,
So
don't tell everybody. Yeah, I got
you know,
it.
I think it's really an interesting opportunity when you look at ability and scale, right?
Yeah,
So I'm just going to leave it there.
I
But
got you.
when you're looking at the tremendous, you talk about the roaming industries, 60 billion pounds. That's like, depending on the day, 70 or 80 million dollars, maybe 90, right? That's great. Industrial IoT is $1 trillion industry globally, right? And so you have organizations that are consistently sending devices from a manufacturing plant to a different country, or those devices are moving on their own because maybe they're on a truck, right? And they're moving on their own throughout these different regions. The scale it's just huge, right? The opportunity is
Yeah.
huge. And I think there's a lot of things that are coming down the pipeline that I've been talking to Irina and Giulia about, and more conversations we're going to have about very specific opportunities that we can bring Zimm to with their flexibility and the app is great. It's slick, it's smooth, it's easy to use. They've built a lot of really powerful controls for businesses as well. So as you think about even just humans moving, right? You're
Yeah.
sending a team of people to Germany for a meeting, and you can say, don't spend over this in your data, right? So if you want to watch Netflix, like probably not, bro, right? At the end of the day, right? It allows you to control that spend that you have. So you look at operational, costs for travel for your employees and all these sorts of things. What they're building is very specific. It's very unique and it's very powerful.
I love it. Yeah, look, you guys are disrupting a big market. You're going to save a lot of businesses a lot of money and people a lot of money, which
Hopefully.
is fantastic. Yeah, and the fact that I see the trio team here building, it's going to be an awesome thing to watch in the future. How can listeners get a hold of Zimm Connections and Helix Wireless? Giulia, you can go ahead, start, and we'll work our way around and finish this podcast.
Of course, well, the app is already in the market. You can find it on both Android and iOS. So it's just ZIM. If you're looking to travel abroad in the next few months and you don't want to spend thousands in roaming, you can check us out.
Love it.
Yeah, also all of our socials are Zimm Connections. Everywhere. Literally Facebook, Instagram, TikTok even. So feel free to reach out.
Yeah.
Awesome.
John, you want to throw anything in there at the end here, buddy?
Yeah, there's one thing that I would like to kind of just throw out there, and I think it's really about the future, right? So
Yeah.
what do you guys see? Like, what is the next? We know eSIM is not new; it's new to a lot of people, right?
Yeah.
Where do you see eSIM going, and how do you see Zimm kind of shepherding that future for consumers? Over the next 12 to 18 months.
So I think eSIM will take over the market definitely. So we expect 2025 to be the year of the eSIM. This is how we call it. That's when we expect the market to actually boom. So we are getting ready for that moment. Sorry?
Okay, I got frozen.
Keep going. He's frozen.
And we are getting ready during 2023 and 2024 for that moment by educating customers, number one, and also creating that brand awareness. So what we see here is that Zimm will be a huge player in that will build up to the year of the eSIM, which is 2025. And hopefully we will be able to create that base of customers that will stay with us when that will boom and that will keep trusting us to offer the best and more seamless eSIM experience for them.
I love it.
Is there a way I can get this eSIM for my house? Because I just got frozen a couple times and my internet completely went out. So we need eSIM for our residential homes ASAP.
Oh, definitely. Actually, during the pandemic, that's actually a funny use case. A lot of people were running. They had not unlimited broadband deals, so at some point everybody was at home and like big families were using the same router of Wi-Fi, and at some point they just ran out of internet and they started actually using eSIMs. They were buying eSIMs in their phone and just sharing the internet with their computers or their TVs or yeah, that was actually a very, very fun use case that we didn't expect.
It sounds like you guys have a ton of opportunity out there to make this business hugely successful, and good luck with everything. Thank you, John, for joining us. And it's been a pleasure meeting everyone. And I look forward to working with you maybe in the future somehow. Just let me know if you need anything, and we'll go from there. So have a great day. Thank you for joining me.
And thank you, Chad, and happy St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah, happy St. Patrick's Day to you guys too. Have a great one. See you later.
Yeah,
See
thank
you.
you.
See you guys later.